With social media absolutely obliterating our attention spans, it seemed like books were bound to be a thing of the past. But in recent years, the publishing industry has reported record sales because of TikTok. People are buying more books than ever before, but at the same time, people are reading fewer books per year on average. So what the hell is going on? Now, I don't need to tell you that the internet, and particularly social media, has basically ruined our attention span, right? We know this. We've gone from reading 1,000-page tomes over the span of months to watching 4-hour movies, to speedrunning 15-minute YouTube videos on double speed, to blitzing through content on TikTok all day. Television producers are blaming our internet brains on the failure of modern storytelling, and many of you are probably watching this video with Instagram open on your phones at the same time. Which is why nobody saw it coming when TikTok made books popular again. Now, my dad always used to tell me that timing was everything. He was not Southern, but he was actually right about that, because in a lot of ways, it's true, especially when it comes to book talk. See, the pandemic was a make or break moment for a lot of industries, but perhaps predictably, book sales did very, very well when everybody was locked inside for months at a time. Now, this would have already been a huge blessing to an old-timey industry in a modern consumer world, but just previous to this was another facet that made it even better for them. Because in 2018, TikTok took over the internet. So we got millions of people locked inside looking for a way to connect with others and disassociate from the chaos around them. So they're reading a ton of books, and under isolation, they're looking for places to talk and debate these books that they're reading. And TikTok became the platform where this was done. Now, obviously, we're all in on YouTube here, on Future Proof, but in some ways, TikTok fosters a closer sense of community because of how casual it is. In a lot of ways, this was basically the rebirth of book clubs, because as long as we've been reading books, we've been talking about books together and sharing the experiences that we had that relate to those stories. There is something truly special about a good book club, right? That safe space to reflect on stories with like-minded people. But in an increasingly isolated digital society, TikTok became the place where you found that community. In 2020, Book Talk effectively became the world's largest book club ever, in a way that BookTube and Bookstagram were never really able to achieve. So suddenly today, books are cool again, with absolutely no help from the publishing industry. Books have even become a fashion statement in their own right. If fashion is about expressing your identity to the world and which groups you belong to, is there any better way of doing that with a book? They're literally called mirrors of the soul, after all. And it turns out that this is a whole fashion thing today. I kid you not. There are legit book stylists out there choosing books for celebrities to be seen with. And none of those books are going to be YouTube for dummies, am I right? But to some, this really feels like performative readership. Like, if people are styling their outfit to match their hardcovers, there's naturally going to be a question about how much these people are actually reading versus pretending to read for the photo op. Honestly, the fact that people are writing articles on this and debating it is just fascinating to me. One thing that we learned in the writing of this script is that people really care about books. Outside of our book clubs, there is a whole social cachet around what we read. We care about who's reading them, how they're being read, and what that says about them and us. We judge people by their book covers. And perhaps at this point, you can start to guess at some of the problems that Book Talk is causing. In 2021, US book sales were at their highest since BookScan started measuring them in 2004. Of those sales, 20 million printed books were sold at least partially because of Book Talk, and bookstores have literally reopened since this boom. In 2022, the Future Book Publishing Conference literally named Book Talk as their Person of the Year. I didn't know that they could do that. I thought that, does everybody get to nominate a Person of the Year? Could we nominate a Person of the Year? It would not be, well, I don't think I could nominate myself, but. So we have to say that book statistics are not a perfect science and don't really represent perfect reality. But one thing that everybody agrees on is that it's changing everything. In the olden days, we learned about new authors from booksellers themselves. Now, we learn about them from pretty much anyone. There is something unique about TikTok's algorithms, how it prioritizes content over followers, which means that pretty much anyone can make a viral video about a hidden gem, and suddenly millions are learning about it for the first time. Things are happening on Book Talk that would have been previously unheard of. We have books hitting the bestseller list years after their release, or authors getting a real shot at publication because of their own online communities. People are talking about how power is returning to the reader, because people are saying that what's happening on TikTok is changing nearly every aspect of the publishing world, which is incredible, really, but it does come down with its own complexities that industry professionals are a little bit worried about. So yes, in some ways, this feels like a bit of a power to the people kind of moment, right? But it could fall short of a revolution. I think this quote captures it pretty well. If all that Book Talk does is continue the tastes of the institutional gatekeepers, then that's not that great. And the way that it's shaking down is very interesting. First of all, let's talk about the emphasis on new over old, right? There are, of course, exceptions, but I can tell you firsthand that as a content creator, there is immense pressure to focus on the hot, the new, and the exciting. Why do you think we make so many bloody water bottle videos on this channel? As a creator, you want to be on the cutting edge of everything. And there's complaints that Book Talk has become rather homogenous as a result, with the same 5 books being recommended over and over again. You probably recognize this if you've been in that world at all. And look, I haven't read any of these trending books, but there seems to be a lot of discussion online about how much of their content is plot and how much of it is, smut, I guess. And listen, I like smut as much as the next guy, but it paints a pretty specific picture of what the book climate looks like right now. Okay, of course, there are all sorts of people recommending all sorts of books, right? But it does seem to be the case that if you don't deliberately fight the algorithms, your entire feed is going to be this book and Colleen Hoover or whatever is popular right now. Then there's some complaints about how these reviews skew a book's popularity. The algorithm seems to favor sensational, emotional reviews on certain trendy tropes, right? Which affects what kinds of books get pushed to the forefront of the algorithm, which in turn affects the kinds of books that are displayed in your real-world bookstores.
A few weeks ago, I saw 2 videos on my For You page quite far apart from each other, both of which were recommending The Poppy War. The first one was a video telling you what the book was about, telling you all of the different themes, the genres, the tropes, telling you what this creator loved about the book. And the second video was someone recommending The Poppy War as a book with a powerful female protagonist. Both things are true. However, to absolutize The Poppy War into just a book about a powerful female protagonist is infuriating.
And because TikTok has such a fast-paced platform, there's this pressure for creators to post at least daily. But it's not as though you can meaningfully post an examination of a book on a daily basis, right? And this is where we get, I kid you not, haul videos, but with books instead of Shein. People will buy 15 books at a time just to flash it in front of the camera for a second and then unhaul it onto their shelves. Combine this with the pressure to always be reading more, you gotta keep up with your Goodreads stats or whatever, and you can see why Book Talk has a reputation for prioritizing quantity over quality. And this is actually a perfect segue for me to tell you that I've also written a book, but I'm giving it away for free. The book is called You Don't Need to Be a Hero to Save the Planet, and I wrote it a number of years ago for my previous channel, and it digs a little deeper into the nuance of the issues that we talk about here on this channel through my own personal experience over the years. It's an ebook and an audiobook, and I actually voiced the whole thing myself, and the only way that you can get access to it is by joining our Patreon page. I took a bit of a read through it the other day because I did write it a long time ago, and it seems to be a bit of an autobiography of some sort, but I honestly think it's an interesting look into my journey in creating this channel, but also a lot of the assumptions that we make about our everyday choices as people. So if you want to support this channel and get access to exclusive content, including my ebook now, you can get all of that and more through the link down in the description. So I would say I'm not exactly a book purist or an author, and I certainly don't follow the trends of whatever is happening online in the book world. But this is actually becoming a problem for some people. TikTok influencers have been burning out reading books. Out of sheer FOMO, people are buying way too many books, only to realize that A, they don't have space for them, and B, they don't even like the books that they bought.
In 2020, I fell prey to the mass consumerism of book talk. I felt as though in order to become a successful creator, I would have to read, recommend, and purchase tens of books a month. As a result of that, I have 4 bookcases full of books that I cannot even really say that I enjoyed.
Because the thing about book talk is that it doesn't just encourage reading, but making a reader a part of your identity. I had no idea before researching this video, but there is a whole aesthetic for what readers look like in the real world, with merch to fulfill that look. And anytime a hobby or a lifestyle or anything else becomes a part of your identity, a marketer out there is ready to use that against you.
It feels like somebody wants to sell me something!
Mainstream book overconsumption is a new enough phenomenon that nobody knows for sure what the long-term impacts will be. But these are still physical objects that people are buying to be a part of that community. As much as I want to support authors, I'm not convinced that buying a book and never reading it, or buying yet another branded tote, is the right way to do that. We actually have a whole other video on totes, if you're interested in that. But what concerns me more is what might happen next. Because in the fashion world, we have already seen that companies today can turn a design into a garment in as little as 10 days based on algorithms and whatever is trendy that week. And specifically on TikTok. We've already moved way past fast fashion into ultra fast fashion today, and it feels like we're at the point of no return. And if you don't think that this is possible for the book world, you might be surprised to learn that just last year, TikTok's parent company started laying the groundwork for their very own publishing house. Yeah, TikTok is getting into the lit game. And as of yet, they haven't released anything, and there's a lot of speculation about what this might actually mean for the publishing industry, good, bad, or even negligible, right? We don't know. But I think the most obvious concern here is the potential for TikTok to publish and promote books based solely off of trends, and to bend their algorithms in their favor. And here's my personal guess, okay? Call me a cynic, but I think what we're going to see is major publishers pumping out more books instead of better books, with priority going to good marketers rather than good writers. Now, we've actually released a whole other video about AI, which you should watch after this. But I think that AI is going to be filling in a lot of the blanks in order to get these books out faster, in the most generic way possible, of course. And my double fear is that we're just gonna get used to this system and forget that books can actually be good and worth talking about. And some of this is sadly already happening. After Fourth Wing absolutely exploded on Book Talk, there was so much pressure to get another book out ASAP that they published the sequel in 6 months. Just for context, it usually takes 2 years to do that. And according to some reports, it sort of seems like it was rushed. I hope that I am wrong, and I don't think that it's too late to change this trajectory either. We still have the opportunity, personally, to choose books intentionally, or even, hear me out, crazy idea, go to a library. The book that you read shouldn't be about if it's popular, or if it fits your image, or if it's gonna mess with your Goodreads stats, okay? And the good news here is, talented writers are going to keep writing things whether or not they're on TikTok's top 40 books of the year or whatever. Self-publishing is bigger than ever, and if you are truly frustrated with the direction that things are going, there's nothing stopping you from supporting someone that you believe in or going to your local library to get books for free. Once again, I don't think people realize that you can go to libraries and get books for free, even cheap, crappy ones like this. I actually haven't read it, so I can't tell you if it's cheap and crappy, but that's what some people seem to be saying. But listen, this is just my opinion. Let us know what you think down below if you're a person who is in this world and you know a bit more of it. Personally, we would love to hear your thoughts. And remember, if you like this kind of content about our consumer world, you should subscribe because we release a video every single week. If you spend a lot of time online, it probably means that you've already opened yourself up to scams and to data brokers. Data brokers collect a huge amount of personal data from tons of people all over the internet, and they make a profit selling it to anyone who will pay their fee. You can technically spend the hours required to scour the internet to retrieve your personal information from hundreds of different sites, or you can let Delete Me, the sponsor of today's video, do that work for you. They've got international plans, so Canadians like us are covered. And did you know that when somebody buys your data, they can actually see information about your relatives too? I know that I personally feel better knowing that they offer family plans so that me and the rest of my family are a little bit more protected. You can get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/future20 and use code future20 at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/future20, code future20. Thanks for coming. We'll see you soon.